Hi, and welcome to Feedback episode 42. We're getting up there. Today, we're joined by composer, conductor, scholar, and director of the Either Or Ensemble, Richard Carrick, joining us from Holland, Massachusetts, I believe. And joining us also is Raphaël Cendo from Berlin, joining us in Berlin. We're going to be talking about his piece, Direct Ago. Anyway, thanks for joining us, guys, and looking forward to talking about this piece with you. For those of you watching, don't forget that you can at yarnwire.org. All right, with that, take it away.
Hi, and Ian Antonio, and of course, Russell Greenberg, who introduced us and started us off. So I'm really excited about this conversation. Had a great chance to kind of get back into your music, Raphael, and it's just wonderful. So I'd like to start off, I think this is part history, part inside scoop on the fruitful collaboration between Raphael and Yarnwire. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'd like to start off with a question for Yarnwire, which is, how did collaborating with Raphael come about, and had you worked with him before?
Whoa.
This was the first time, actually, that we worked together. And I think it was Russell who had heard Raphael's music first. And as often happens, things get emailed around between the four of us, and it's like, whoa, take a listen to this. This is like crazy. Let's do it.
It's true.
I think I was talking to, it might have been they were listening to and things like that. And I think your name came up, Raphael, and, I did a Google search and listened to some stuff. And yeah, we thought it would be really cool because the music was so unlike anything that we had been able to do here. You want to write a piece? And you're like, okay.
Was the
like
in that as well? Hey,
Pretty basically.
But this wasn't just any piece. This was part of a Lincoln Center concert. So how did that also fit into your, again, another question for Yarnwire is just before we get to Raphael, how did that?
I think I can answer that one too. I don't remember if the piece came first or the concert idea, but I remember reaching out to Raphael. We agreed we were going to work on a piece, and then we got funding for the piece through the Ernst von Siemens Foundation, which was really fortunate. So we're really thankful to them for that opportunity. And either that happened before the proposal for the concert or vice versa. I'm not sure. It just so happened, it wasn't on purpose, but it just so happened that all these pieces were coming our way that were related to music that was going on in France. We had a big Kusevitsky commission from Tristan Murail. It's very tangentially related, but it was, some kind of thematic element that made sense. And, Lincoln Center was into it. And
interested you about writing a piece for 2 piano and 2 percussion?
Pleasure to share with all of you, split on around the world. It wasn't very simple. So I received an email and I said, wow, okay. And first, as a lot of many composers, when some ensemble ask us for a new project, Rachel's email, I say, okay, wow, but what I can do? And no, because it's very unusual, in fact, even if there are some repertoire of this, but it's very challenging. 2 pianos, 1 piano is already amazing to write for. 2 pianos, it's higher, and if you add 2 percussion more, the challenge is like boom. So and also with my music at this, I changed a lot until now. At this moment, I was in a kind of process, very extreme with my music, with the instrument, with the action of the instruments. And so I was like, okay, it's like you open a new world and you say, wow, okay, everything is possible because of percussion, but in the same time, as you know, all of you guys, if the percussion is too problematic for all the instruments you can use, to replay the piece is difficult. I think that I don't know if I arrived to manage that, but I was like, okay, what I can do with that is so, and also because finally it's very difficult for my music, timbre music, to arrive to make a timbre action between the pianos and the percussions. Yes, to make a big and one ensemble, and because I don't use a lot in this period some keyboard, percussion keyboard, so I was really I thought a lot about which way I can choose to develop the piece. So it was really this moment when I received the email from Russell. I say, okay, and now. So it was the beginning, in fact. I was very happy, but the fear was my best friend at this moment.
Does that all happen in your head in like 20 seconds? Upon reading something, you're like, boom, 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 like all these possibilities?
Yeah, it's all the time like that. When I receive some proposition, immediately I have some ideas, and a lot of these ideas are directly on the trash during the process of the composition process. But some I can take it and I can keep it during the composition process. But yes, it's like that, you know, and I'm not the only one. I'm sure that we are a lot of composers that when we receive this kind of huge project, it's like some to write for orchestra, because it's not so usual. I mean, for my style, it's not so usual to receive some commission from orchestra, because they are very afraid about what I can do with the strings and whatever, you know. So it was the same thing. Say, okay, boom. So very quickly, you know, the brain is our laptop, and it calculates the possibilities very, very, very quickly. And as you guys, as the musicians and the composers too, you know, so it's very quick. And I remember Emmanuel Nunes, Portuguese composer, during a lecture, he said, composing, it's make some choice, billion of choice during 1 second. And that's true. The brain is like on fire.
Yeah.
I think it was Brian Fernie who also said, you know, there are a million different ways to start a piece, but there are only a few ways to end one. And because you just have all the ideas, all the possibilities are there. But I appreciate how much you kind of throw a lot of them away to actually get to the piece you want to write. That's not an easy place to get to. Yeah. And so the title, Direct Action, I think you referred to what that means, right? It's kind of very physical.
Yeah, there are two ways, in fact, with this title. The first one is, yes, for sure, the physical action, direct action, not to make some a space between the score, the instrument, and the audience, but go directly only on the gesture and try to have a very strong action on the instruments, and try to touch the audience with this kind of things without a romantic way, but only with a gesture, like a Pollock, in fact, made. It was really my research at this moment. Yes, to work on this very huge action, not only to have a large sound, a mass of sound, but also to it was very challenging also to try to make only gesture and just try to see what is could be happen at the end. It's an experimentation, and especially with this piece, it was very an important experimentation for me. And I don't remember the question at the beginning. Sorry, I go on my way.
No, that's actually perfect because you lead us into the next thing. For us. Oh, go ahead.
I remember. Yeah, it's because it's very important. The title. Yes, so this direct action. So yes, the body, the smelling also of the body when it play. Because I remember what 17 years ago I began to conceptualize saturated music. What it's missing for me is to have this. The theater of the body, you know, like very incredible dancer. And I wanted really that. But in the same time, direct action, it's related to political things, you know. In fact, it's anarchist theory concept. You know, when you work on the factory and the rules are too hard and you say, okay, I stop. I don't play anymore. I don't play. I don't make nothing anymore because our conditions are very bad. So I wanted also to connect this to the political way to say, okay, I refuse what's the aesthetic contemporary world propose, and I want to try to draw my own way. So there are two parts on the title.
Beautiful. Well, I think we should listen to the beginning of the piece, and then I'd like to get into some of the specifics of the music. I really appreciate it. And you talk about an organic musical flow, and I love this. I think we'll be able to hear it very, very directly in the first few minutes of the piece. So we're going to listen to the first few minutes of direct action. All right. If you didn't have your coffee this afternoon, I think you just got a dose of some really high octane stuff there, Raphaël. It's really amazing, and Yarn Wire sounds amazing. My next question is for Raphaël. I wanted to ask you, this piece requires some unusual percussion instruments, including the waterphone, kind of the metal three-dimensional looking sundial. And we have a little clip we're going to show in a few minutes. But you also make use of preparations, extensive use, especially the aluminum foil. And I know that you used it in Graphien, which we worked on together with strings, with winds, and so forth. Can you talk a little bit about your interest in preparations and new instruments, and how it works into your musical language?
Okay, once again, because it's a long time I didn't, I don't heard the piece, so I was like that. I was a little bit surprised because it's very speed. It's so speed, guys. You make the job very well. Thank you very much. But no, it's not so easy. No, I'm very surprised because yes, it was this moment of my research, and yes, for sure, the idea was to transform the instruments or try to add some new vibration or new colors or whatever. So this is why I use a lot of, and now I don't use anymore, but aluminum foil or things like that, just to have this vibration and also this very strong characteristic of the distortion. Because in fact, what we heard, and even if it's not immediately the link what we can make with this sound, but it remembers the guitar distortion with electric guitar. When on the guitar, when you have this very, very hard feedback or this vibration. So it was really this idea to have this kind of vibration, but it's not only for that. I wanted also in this period to try to create this homogeneity of the sound. This is why there are a lot of aluminum foil, a little bit everywhere. I use it since 2007. So this is why I stopped, because now, and the problem is now everybody uses it. So it's a little bit boring for me to hear that, not in my piece, I mean, but here right now to really send the same things. It's for me, it's a little bit boring. But yes, the idea was really to create an environment of sound, even if we can recognize the piano, the percussion, because it's very easy. It's connotated in the sense that we know that when we heard the chords from the piano, okay, it's a piano. Even if on the street with people who don't learn music, they say, wait, when we play piano, they recognize piano. But if you try to transform a little bit with aluminum or also some preparation of the high register of the piano, you can create a moment, or you have also this brain distortion that he said, okay, I recognize it's a piano, but I don't recognize the rest. So I love when we are completely lost on the sounds, on the timbre sounds, and when we are disoriented by what we heard, not only because the power or the dynamics, but also when you say, oh, okay, I'm not sure what is it, and this feeling, what I liked to do on the past is also this disorientation of the timbre. It's also to create this another level of the listening, not only listening to the music for the music, but also have this a globe of sound that perhaps, if you let your brain of your imagination, can help you to go in a sort of transcendence.
Nice. Yes, wonderful. Thank you. Let's listen. I want to turn it over to Yarnwire, and we have some really fun clips here. some really nice examples of how you kind of are working with the instruments. So we're gonna watch 4 clips in a row. First one is Russell playing the big metal sheet, and he can talk about that. And then we have 3 very short clips. One is everyone working with the manual sirens, and they're working hard. Talk about working. And Russell's got like a TikTok version of the metal sheet. You know, he's got his like 5-second version of it. And Ian demonstrating the water foam. So if we could just watch those clips and get some feedback on that.
Nice. Is that an old video from Vine?
Yeah, you know, that was Vine, and that was
Yeah.
I think that was the summer we like first were starting to play with doing videos.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
So yeah, that was awesome. But the first one, the steel sheet, I sent that to you, I think, Raphael. You know, I was like showing the implement and stuff like that because you had requested these ridiculous dimensions of a steel sheet. And I was like, no, you got to be kidding me. But then in Mazpeth, and we hung it up and did that. And I was like, yeah, it had to be this thing.
It sounds amazing.
It's so
So
great.
good. Yeah.
There's that sense of distortion that Raphael was talking about. You hear it so clearly because I couldn't figure out where the voices were coming from in your piece. But you hear it. It was just a Super Bowl with it was incredible. You must have had so much fun kind of finding all the sounds with that, Russell.
It was fun, but like, you know, I shredded a couple bows, but that's all right, you know.
A dangerous sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about?
I remember because the sound is not the same if you use another metal sheet. So this is why I wanted to read this, and I know, and I thank you again, all the work you made to have it. So and at the end, with the small Super Bowl and the bow and everything is working very well, and now I'm very happy. And if I remember well, I think that I coached before writing the piece something on YouTube.
Yeah.
And say, oh wow, okay, I can do something like that. He was a percussionist or a shop of percussion. You just show this and say, wow, perhaps I can do it in this way. But before, if I remember well, I didn't use it before. So, and it was also at in distance. It's important to say because I was in Europe and you was in New York City or in US. So all the work was on distanciation. Right now, it's the same things with the pandemic, you know, finally. But so yeah, you sent me some example, and we spoke about that. But directly, I was very super enthusiastic.
Yeah, it was cool because like it was a huge unknown because it's not like you can go buy this instrument, right? We have the implements, but I had to Google sheet metal store, and then like find the shop. And then I go there and I'm like, hey, I need a sheet metal. They're like, what for? well, I'm gonna know this thing.
Yeah.
Of trying it, to thank them, but you can't try it on a little scrap. And so I said, I guess this thickness is good. And it was totally luck. I got a real thin thickness because I knew it would have to resonate, and I gave him dimensions, and that was it. So thank goodness.
There's something about these sounds, and I'd love to hear Laura and Ian talk about this as well, is there's something unstable, about a lot of the sounds that Raphael's going for. And I'm curious from a performer's point of view, when you have, the notation, sometimes it's very specific, sometimes it's like, clusters, and sometimes it's more physical gestures like tablature. But how do you, as a performer, deal with the uncertainty of the sound that you're getting? And it's a really tricky process because you have to know what Raphael wants, but you've got this instrument that can only do these things. So I was kind of curious to hear a bit more about that.
Yeah, I think percussionists probably are very used to dealing with that problem. And so, not that it's easier for them necessarily. And I think for pianists who play a lot of new music, it's maybe less daunting than if you were, playing mostly classical repertoire for your existence. And I would say, I think it's about first just educating yourself, about how do you physically make that sound? What is it like when you use certain motions? And then you try to make it sound as good as possible for yourself and within the group. And then I think, if you have that benefit also of having feedback from the composer, which is so important, and then it's like you define it. It's like a new instrument, a new sound that you are defining in that specific context, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
I must say something else is I was in my very crazy period with the piano. So I remember I let my imagination, and I say, okay, let's go, let's see. So and this is true. That's because you're always moving between the keyboard and inside the piano, and it's always and also the score wasn't. It was my ex-publisher, so it was not very clear. Now I changed, so that's so great. Really. So I remember that finally.
Pandora's box.
Yeah, but finally, we made it.
Yeah, it totally works.
Even if I remember, I changed when we played in a Miller Theater. I changed because I wasn't happy with my composition, and specifically with sirens, or there are some parts very was too repetitive. And I remember we changed. There's also some way of it wasn't very. You didn't have so much time to change here to here. So I remember we had after that a new process to try to make the balance between the craziness and Apollon. I mean, the structure and the craziness. So, and no, it was, no, but we made it. You made it, guys.
Yeah. Something that was, I'm remembering watching these clips is that I think this piece, more than any other I've ever played, I had to, and maybe Russell, you felt this also, but I felt the resultant sound, which was like a loud, often loud, noisy, distorted sound. I felt the need to kind of use more physical energy or almost tension in playing. And there was occasional dissonance between like pressing hard on something or trying hard, but then realizing that I needed to actually relax to get as big a sound as possible. So it was just some interesting kind of cognitive physical dissonance there.
It's a hard piece. Like physically, like it's like you're
physically hard.
And like I'm imagining this like, but actually, if you listen to the sounds, yeah, you watch it and it's like really intense, but the sounds are so beautiful. So there is that dissonance, it's just like it really sings this distortion. There's all this stuff, but like my physical memory of it is like, just like all over the place.
Yeah. It's like, I think to play it, it's one of those, the neurons are constantly firing, like, move here, do this thing. Okay, quick, put the stick down, grab the bow, turn around, look at Laura. Bang, Ning's going to play a quarter note here. It's like one of those kind of adrenaline rushes.
Don't cut yourself.
It seems like the physicality is not always, because the instruments are different and the way you're making sounds is different. You're not always using the same kind of physical force to generate the same sound, that you might be used to. So in the score, it says, do this. And if you do this, the sound's going to come out softer instead of louder.
Right.
And so there must have been thousands of questions when you first met. I mean, that rehearsal process, what was that like when you first met for the Lincoln Center?
Yeah,
yes.
It was. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say, definitely the first time I used a rosined weight inside the piano, I had no idea how that was supposed to work exactly. Or I think we saw a picture of the flask. That was a totally new implement, and the technique of the gesture and the sound. I really was we were guessing up until the moment we met with Raphaël. So yeah, there was definitely a lot of, is this right? Is this right? Can you show me exactly how you do that?
There was a lot of I was excited when you got into town, because we had been working on it and just trying to figure it out, right? What is this score like? And then when we met in person for the first time and started working on it, it was kind of a breath of fresh air, because then it became clear that it was about the energy, that that these shapes led into this thing, that this led into that, and all of a sudden it all started making sense, and how you started pacing it with us, and describing the layers and the techniques and all of that. And it was wow, there's nothing to worry about, and B, there's, it's a lot of fun, and we're just going to keep shaping it. And I think one of the biggest things I remember is you were like, is it okay if we make some edits? Raphael, you said that right now, and we were like, yeah. And so that process that you're talking about shaping it with us was, from the beginning was a part of it, once we were in person, and that was really special. And the fact that continued at Miller, where it's basically a different piece, it's so cool.
Tell us a bit more about why it's a different piece. I'm kind of curious.
Raphael chilled out, man. That's what happened.
We all got a little bit older.
It matured.
Well, it's kind of if you think of sculptors, right? They have this just block of material, and it's sometimes you need to just keep chipping away and whittling, and you're oh, it's not quite right, but it looks good, and then you find that one little place where you just.
Yeah, exactly. It's arrived at the first rehearsals when we met before Lincoln Center concert, that we begin to take off some on the sculpture, the thing that we didn't or I didn't want to show, and specifically with this kind of piece, and also for the composers who work on this way, it's very difficult when you are on the table alone at home to imagine exactly what it's work and what it will be not work. And so you just make a game with yourself, and or with Faust, with the devil, and you say, okay, let's go to make a pact, and just to see what's happened. But at this period, I wanted really to push my imagination far as possible, and because we replayed the piece in Miller 2 or 3 years after, something.
2018.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And also, I hope that I grow up between the premiere and the Miller concert. So I remember, I changed the duration of the siren also. It was too long.
Yeah, and actually, is there any more siren? Maybe it's just like a very small, like a quiet part.
Yeah, it's a quiet part.
Yeah.
Just like that before the ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the problem with the siren, I like this instrument, but also when we said, when we heard the instruments, suddenly the brain connected the instrument. So it's Varese, we know. We know that this is Varese for sure. But when we replay it, and in mezzo forte or perhaps piano, at the end, it's like a very the end of the cat's life, you know, and it was definitely what I wanted, you know, the end of the world, because I want to mention also something, because sometimes we heard my pieces and say, oh wow, it's too loud, and I'm agree with that. Now I'm an old guy, and it's too definitely too high, for the level is too high for me. I mean, I don't do it anymore, even if I stay in this kind of process. But the saturation music, the function of the saturation music is not only to make some to try to make some new timbre, or to make only energy for the energy. It was really at the beginning. I speak to you almost about 20 years old. It was to anticipate the catastrophe, not the pandemic, but the globalization catastrophe. It was like when you feel that something will be happen, and you want to say to the people, it was like that. This is why also I wanted the siren, just to create this climate, very intense and very like very strange fear. It's for me a kind of anticipation of the globalization ending.
Yeah, I mean, it is a sound that it's so evocative. And I think it is like a universal. I think everybody feels something with that in a very kind of immediate way.
Yeah, it's a signal that everybody know all around the world, that when you heard the siren, it's not a good time for you or for the people around you. Yes. So yes, for sure, it's exactly this type of sound, like it's remember you. Something that you know on your in your life. It's like when your ring is you recognize that, okay, I know this signal. It's the same for the siren, and it was exactly, and also with the title Direct Action, it was exactly what the atmosphere that I wanted. Just like, but at the beginning in Lincoln Center, it was too. This is my fault. This is my composition fault. It was too high. Like, okay, we understand the things. But yes, I remember we cut it and we say we make piano, mezzo forte, and I remember also I said no, less.
Yep.
Well, maybe this would be a good time to listen to the end. I think if we can skip to the final video cue, we have the last few minutes of the second performance for everybody to watch.
Nice.
Okay. I was young. Sorry, guys.
Awesome.
I put a lot of things to do. No, it's a long time I didn't heard the. Guys, you play. It's amazing. It's really amazing. Thank you again.
I did remember thinking when we received the score, that feeling. It's a feeling that I think many ensembles or players know, which is like, can we play this?
Mm-hmm.
But then we could. But yes,
now,
it is.
Now
it is a difficult piece.
Now I ask, can we play this again?
Good question. Oh, my back!
Yeah, seriously.
True, I have to get some orthopedic shoes for the next time we play this.
I know we were all a little bit younger a few years ago.
Yeah. The last year, it's really changed a lot.
That was a fun show, though. That was a great show.
I think it's a good time to kind of wrap things up. I just want to say, Raphaël, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, your ideas. You're talking about work. You're talking about, Apollo and Dionysus, and your kind of understanding of music and reflecting back on what you were doing a few years ago. Thank you to Yarn Wire for your great insights into how you make this music come alive so beautifully. Also, just huge congratulations to this whole series. I think it's really exciting to document all this. So just want to thank everybody for participating in this, and really excited to see this happen.
Yeah. I have a question for both you, Rick, and Raphaël, before we go. Since the world is very slowly moving again, and maybe moving forward, is there anything that you're working on, either of you right now, that you're particularly excited about, or looking, even if you haven't started yet, that you're looking forward to getting started on?
Raphaël.
Okay, yes, I'm working on a very strange piece for Darmstadt with linear ensemble, with a very strange instrumentation, with a shang, with a cymbalum, and with e-guitar played by Jaron, Dutch. I think that's you know him, the one and the only one. And so I am in the process of this piece, and also it's with modular synthesis, and I play on the stage. But it's with the score is here. It's very hard to write that, and I play on the day, so I practice a lot. So it's new since a year and a half. I make pieces with that, so it's a new challenge for me, and I needed that because when you stay only on just the same thing, it could be boring or depressing thing. So yes, this is I'm not in late, but it's okay. I'm between.
That sounds amazing.
Well, I definitely want to hear that, Raphaël. I'm finishing up a music for dance, and it's going to be premiered. There's an evening length concert of all my music that's set to dance by the New Chamber Ballet, which should be happening in May or June, hopefully in person, and also on video in New York City. And I've also started developing in the last few years. I got into graphic scores in a pretty serious way, which I never did up until a few years ago. So I have a big series of graphic scores called the graphic series Lead Sheets, which I've been developing with a number of musicians. And so that's kind of taking me in some new directions as well.
Fantastic.
And we have some of those.
Great.
They look great. Thanks everyone for being here and making the time. Next week we will be having feedback episode 43 with Aaron Rodgers and Dennis Sullivan, aka Pope Bama, talking about works that they made for us that we premiered at the Stone in 2019. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any episodes. And if you feel like supporting this or other projects, you can visit us at our website or on patreon.com. Thanks so much, everyone. It was great seeing you.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.